Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
So to speak about wisdom. Wisdom is basically that which understands nature, phenomena, reality. And as for the nature of reality, that it actually is inexpressible. Not really explain it. And even if I explain it to you, I tend to explain it to some extent, just by hearing it, hearing the teaching on this, hearing the teaching on emptiness. You cannot really get the understanding of emptiness. You can only get the understanding of emptiness by meditating, to say, this personal experience which is developed gradually. So we usually have something we call relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. So relative bodhicitta is basically the thought which you wish to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. It has the aspiring thought and the application thought. And there's vows you can receive, relative bodhicitta vows. And you can receive this from the bodhisattva ritual, vow bestowed ritual from the teacher. However, the teacher cannot possibly give the vows for the ultimate bodhicitta. Actually, there's no such thing as ultimate bodhicitta vow, while there is for relative bodhicitta. Because ultimate bodhicitta cannot be given. It's something to be developed within. So that's why it's the same thing, has the same meaning. Ultimate bodhicitta is the same as emptiness. So you cannot really just bestow it upon someone to let them realize it. You need to realize it through your own efforts. So we have a thing called the six perfections. Six perfections are the main causes for attaining enlightenment, according to the Sutrayana path. And so the six perfections are the perfection of generosity, perfection of moral conduct, perfection of patience, the perfection of diligence, the perfection of meditative concentration, perfection of wisdom. And each of these actions, such as generosity, moral conduct, and so on, do not become perfections that easily. You may possibly give gifts to others with pure intention, but that alone, it's very difficult to say it is perfection of generosity. It may be generosity, but it's perfection of generosity. And so, in order for it to become the perfection of generosity, you need to have, to some extent, the understanding of emptiness. You need to have meditation of emptiness. So you must understand. You must not, first of all, when you give, when you perform generosity, act of generosity, you must not have attachment to the thought that I am the giver. This is the person I'm giving to, and this is the object that I should not have attachment or grasping to these three concepts. And so therefore you need to understand that I sort of like giver and not truly exist. And the person that I'm giving to is also does not truly exist. And the thing that I'm giving, the object, is also empty. And if you can practice generosity in such a way, then it becomes perfection of generosity. Generosity alone cannot become the cause of enlightenment. If you can practice in such a way, with the meditation of emptiness, then it becomes the perfection of generosity. It becomes a cause for And so likewise for the perfection of wisdom also, for wisdom also, you need to have non-attachment, non-grasping to these three concepts. So you should not think, I am the meditator, I am meditating, I'm the one that is meditating on emptiness. This is the person or beings that I'm meditating for, and this is the meditation that I'm meditating on. This is the subject which I'm meditating on. Wisdom is the subject which I'm meditating on. So not have this, you should not have these three concepts. And if you do not have grasping to these three concepts and are able to practice meditation on wisdom, then it becomes the perfection of wisdom, positive enlightenment. The practice on the meditation of wisdom is the best sort of medicine, because this the practice of the meditation of wisdom, it deals with all of the faults, any kind of faults that one has, and it does not just temporarily, but it ultimately, sort of like permanently, destroys all of the faults. So therefore, it's very powerful. For example, when we are angry, there is an antidote to that. There's a solution to calming down anger. There's a temporary solution and a permanent solution. So the temporary solution is to practice loving kindness. When we practice loving kindness towards others, then our anger calms down, because anger and loving kindness are two exact opposite paths. Anger is sort of like a dislike, and it's part of non-caring. It does not care for others. In fact, wants to hurt others or harm others. Our loving kindness is a part which one wishes to help others, and it's a caring part. So these are direct opposites. So when one is very angry, if one brings in the practice of loving kindness, it temporarily cools down the anger, and it temporarily cools down. But still, it's very possible that the anger can arise again later on, because you haven't permanently dealt with the problem, just temporarily deal. But if you look into the nature of anger, if you look into it and see if it truly exists, if there's anything true about it, you will not find anything. You will find it to be empty of nature. And with this understanding of emptiness, then it permanently deals with the problem. The problem cannot arise. fact, emptiness so important to understand. The wisdom that understands emptiness, that is also equally important. So important that Shantideva said in the very first chapter on the perfection of wisdom chapter in this book, Sattva, that everything that was mentioned earlier in previous chapters, generosity, diligence, all conduct, patience, and all of these important practices, these were all taught by the Buddha to lead sentient beings to finally lead sentient beings to understanding of emptiness and end. So all of these practices are meant to lead the beings to understanding of emptiness. And so therefore, emptiness is very important. Without emptiness, you cannot possibly attain any kind of liberation from suffering. So although emptiness, the wisdom which understands emptiness can be brought into any kind of practice, can be brought in to deal with any kind of problem. The main opposite of wisdom, the main sort of like its main opponent, which it needs to deal with, is the self. It's called self-grasping. The notion in which one believes that I truly exist, that there is a truly existing self. This is the main opposite of the wisdom. This is what the wisdom understand that wisdom mainly deals with, the main problem. So the main problem that we have, the main reason why we are in samsara, there's only one main problem that is we have self-grasping. If we do not have self-grasping, we will not be in samsara. But because we have that, we are in samsara. So the self-grasping, because we believe that I truly exist, we have a strong attachment to I. Due to that, another further attachment arises, which is this is my family, this is my relatives, these are my friends, these are my house, this is my house, this is my land, this is my possession, a lot of my, there's a me and there's a mine. So that is the second problem which arises. So due to that, because there's a me and a mine, then there also has to be the opposite of that. So then there's others, other people, and their possessions. So we have strong attachments to oneself, one's own things, and then we have the attachment, strong belief that there's the opposite of oneself, which is others, their things. And due to that, we then develop like and dislike. We like those, we choose, we differentiate between some certain people. We like our relatives and family more, we dislike our enemies, and so on. So based on the like and dislike, then we create karma. We perform good deeds towards those that we like, and we try to harm those that we do not like. That may create negative. The karma then arises birth, and then cycle of life, birth, living, death, all of that. And then that way, because we have the source main problem, which is self-grasping, the birth and the death continue on and on. So this, And so if self-grasping is the problem, we need to get rid of it. We first need to understand, how did this all come about? How did the self-grasping first occur? Why do we have the self-grasping? So in order to understand this, we need to understand that the reason we have self-grasping is because we have a body. We have a body in this life, and because we have this body, we tend to believe that there is an I. And so it's quite clear that we have sort of tripped ourselves to believe that the body is an I. Because like when somebody pokes you with maybe like a needle or a toothpick, you would think that they hurt you, they hurt me, this person hurt me. But what they really did was they hurt the body, not really the knee. And so if the body and the I are not the same as we think, then we need to see what are the differences between the body and the I. We do accept that there is a body, but the I is a creation by ourselves. But we think it's the same. It's our habit. So we need to see, we need to examine, is the I and the body same or different? So if you, first of all, if you think that the body and the I are the same, you need to understand that their nature is not the same. Not possibly the same, because the nature is not the same. For example, the nature of the body is impermanent, it's ever changing. And the body is also a collection of many things, a collection of the hand, feet, different things together. It's basically a heap. So that is what a body is. It's a collection of many things. While the I, or the me, or the self, which we are so attached to, that's not really a collection of anything. We have the attachment to such a part, we feel that it is a single thing. For example, when we are in a room alone, if there's nobody else in the room, but we are the only person in the room, we think, I'm alone here. So this is part. If it were to exist, the way, although it does not exist, we think it exists. The way we think it exists, while, for example, I have ignorance. My name is Asanga, and I think that there's only one Asanga, and that is me. There's anybody else in this world, but only Asanga is me. So that's just like a part that alone, single. But the body is different. It's a collection of many parts. And as I said, the body is permanent, but itself, we think it is permanent. We always think we will live long. And, we have this permanent part. That's why we create plans every day. We think it is almost forever. We do not think of death. And create plans as we are going to see the next day. We're very confident to make all these plans. And so as you can see, these are quite opposite. The body depends on many factors coming together. Part of an I, itself, does not depend on the I. And the body is impermanent, and part of the I is a permanent part. The part itself is not permanent. The way we see it is the self is a thing. but it is difficult to say that it is different from the body as well. First of all, from the earlier examination, we can certainly say that it is not the same. The body and the self is not the same. You cannot say it's different items, because if there's no body, then there's nothing for us to think that there is an I. It's because there's this body that we can do. In a way, it's kind of, there is a relation, but it's difficult to say that it's the same mind, that the body and the self are the same, or that it's different. And so therefore, there are two different kinds of understanding of emptiness. The understanding of the emptiness of the self, or the understanding of the emptiness of the individual, and the understanding of the emptiness of phenomena, everything else that is not such a table and a house, and cars, all of those. That is, if you can understand the emptiness, its empty nature, and that is the understanding of the nature of phenomena. But there are these two different kinds of understanding of emptiness, and the first one, we kind of just roughly went through, see, is to first look into yourself, to understand your own empty nature, and understanding that there's no such thing as self, a truly existing self, as we think there is. Another way to understand, better way to understand the emptiness of the self or the individual is by looking at the example of a car, for example. The car has many parts. There's the wheel, the four wheels, and then the seats, and then there's the place to put the gas, and all of that. The top and the bottom and the back side and the front side of the car, the trunk. There's a lot of car parts, the gears and the wires and all of that. But if you were to break up the car, just make it into all of these different pieces. By now, as we can see, a car is one thing together, but if you just break up all the parts and look for the car, you'll not find the car. If you look at the wheel, you cannot say the wheel is the car. If you look at the seat, you cannot say the seat of the other car or anything. If you look at each of the car parts, you will not find the car. But when all of these parts come together, then we name it. We give it the name car. But in reality, you cannot find such a car. It's just a name, simply nothing else other than a name that you give when a lot of things come together, a lot of things gather, connect together. Name. So likewise, there's no real I. If you look at the head, if you were to search for the eye, you cannot find the eye in the body. If you look at the hands, the fingers are not the eye, the hand is not the eye, the arm is not the eye, the legs, the head, and so on. The heart is not the eye. Even the brain is not the eye. But when all of these body parts come together, then we just give it a name. There's nothing else. Name has no essence. People can change names. Many people change names in their life. Nothing true to a name. So usually, just with the understanding of the emptiness of a self, the practitioners can possibly attain the arahat. They can transcend samsara. They can transcend suffering. But that doesn't mean that they attain full enlightenment. In order to attain full enlightenment, you also need to fully understand that all phenomena, not just the body, but all phenomena are also empty of nature. For that, we need the second type of understanding of the empty nature of phenomena. And so, to pursue this sort of understanding of emptiness phenomena, general phenomena, we need to understand that if something were to exist, because we think that everything truly exists. We see a tree, we think it truly exists. Other things all truly exist. But if something were to truly exist, there needs to be a starting point. Whatever exists needs to first be created or born. Without being born, it cannot exist. So, and likewise, everything that exists must also die. Because in order to exist, there needs to be a process. Creation and abiding, remaining, then ceasing, getting destroyed. So that is sort of the process. So we need to examine into if we really think that phenomena truly exist, everything that we see truly exists, then it needs to first be born. Without being born, it cannot exist. So this is all inspection or examination. We are into the ultimate state of reality. So we first need to know that there's a difference between relative truth and ultimate truth. Relatively, we accept whatever the ordinary people we agree with whatever ordinary people accept. So if people say that there is a tree here, what a beautiful tree, you will not say, oh, there's no tree here, it's empty. We will not say that. They'll just agree. And that's relative truth, how we deal with the relative truth. But when you go deeper into examining it, we develop into the ultimate truth, then we must examine its nature. Does it really exist? Does it not exist? We need to think about it. So as I said, if things were to truly exist, then it needs to be born first. And if it were born, if it were created, there are only four possible ways it can be created. It either has to be created from itself, or it has to be created from something other than itself, the result. So the result either has to be created from the cause, which is the cause and the result are same. So to be born, it either has to be created from something itself, or something other than oneself, or something that is both created from oneself and from something other than oneself, or it has to be born without a cause. Without So, for example, if this table was created from itself, then there's no use or no purpose for it to be created in the first place because it already existed from the very beginning. The cause itself is the table, the result is the table. So the table cannot possibly be created from itself. Otherwise, if it were, then there's no use of being born because it already existed in the very first place. And if you were to say that the table is born from something other than itself, then the possibilities become infinite. The table could become born from an egg, or it can be born from a womb, or it can be born from something completely unrelated to it. Possibilities become infinite. So it's difficult to really say that the table is born from something other than itself, created from something other than itself. So when we look at the ultimate nature, it's not possible for there to be something that is born from itself, and it's also not possible for there to be something that is born from others. So therefore, because each of its own respects is not possible, there's not. It's also not possible for there to be something that is born from both itself and something other than itself the same. And it's also not possible, you cannot say that the table exists without a cause. You cannot say that it was born without a cause. For example, if things can be born without a cause or exist without a cause, then many efforts of workers such as farmers would be effortless. But because the seed, according to you, will now be born without without a cause. But that is the other case. The seed is usually the farmers work hard. There needs to be many conditions, such as heat, water, the soil, and so on, for the seed to grow into the plant. So, therefore, it's difficult to say things exist without a cause. So because these four possibilities have now become impossibilities, not, not find there to be creation. And when there's no creation, there cannot be something which exists. So with this kind of examination, inspection, we are able to get rid of the thought that things truly exist. And get rid of that grasping thought. So with this kind of examination, we get rid of the thought which we call eternalism. So the thought which we think things truly exist. But then there is a danger that because we think we cannot find there to be anything that truly exists, we get attached to the thought that nothing exists. So now we might end up thinking nothing exists, and this is called nihilism. It's also very dangerous. So we need to understand that existing and non-existence is opposites. It's like the right and left, or the up and down. It's like a direct opposites. So when there's no such thing as existing, truly existing, there cannot possibly be the opposite of it, which is non-existing as well. So in that way, by understanding that, we will get rid of the attachment that not exist. Because this is dangerous. Usually when people hear about the word emptiness, they think it means nothing exists, I don't exist, things don't exist, and there's nothing. And then they feel afraid. But that's not really what emptiness is about. Of course, thinking things exist is a big fault, but also equally thinking that things do not exist, being attached to that thought, is also a mistake. So when existing and non-existing cannot be found, each of its own respect, there cannot be something that is both existing and non-existing. So existing, you cannot find anything that exists. You can also not find anything that does not exist. So in each of these spots you cannot find. So there cannot be something that is both. Make this a bit more clear. People might think, okay, after having gone through the examination, things you cannot say things exist, but you cannot say things do not exist alone. So maybe it's something that is phenomena are something that exists and non-exist at the same time. It's a mixture. People might possibly think that's why when it cannot, when both of these, existence and non-existence, does not exist in each of its own respect, it cannot be something that is both of them. And because there isn't something that is both existing and non-existing, it cannot be something that is neither existing. That's opposite. So if you can contemplate this kind of way, you'll find that there's nothing to grasp onto, there's nothing, no concept to hold on to. This is what we call the four extremes, free from the four extremes. You do not fall into any kind of side, but sort of the true middle way. To give an example, when you look at the water, there's the reflection of the moon on the water. You see the reflection. But as you see the reflection of the moon in the water, you understand that it is not the real moon, that it is empty of the moon's nature, but it still appears. So likewise, whenever we see, as we see phenomena, we need to understand that the phenomena that we see are empty of its own nature. And also when we look into the mirror, we see ourselves. We see all of our facial features, and our body, and we move also the reflection. The mirror moves as well. But that, even though, however much alive the reflection of you in the mirror is, be, it is not you. It is just a reflection. It is empty of your own nature. So therefore, like that, similarly, whenever we perceive the phenomena, especially also when not just in the meditation concentration, but in our daily lives, if we can, whenever we see phenomena, we should try to see it as being something like that of an illusion. So when we can fully understand the emptiness of the self and also the emptiness of phenomena, we fully and completely understand that, then we attain full enlightenment. But however, we must also understand that as sentient beings, we are not. It is not possible for us in our current state to fully understand emptiness. So we need to learn, to gradually learn to meditate on emptiness, step by step. But we also must know that as long as we are being, ordinary sentient being, it is not possible to understand fully, to fully understand. So the very first time you will directly see emptiness, the nature of things as it is when you attain the first level of Bhumi, first level of the Bodhisattva. So starting from the first level of a bodhisattva, you start to see emptiness directly as it is, and you must keep that. You will then naturally be able to keep that practice meditation, and it will improve as time goes on, and as you progress up to second, third, fourth, fifth level, and then about the eighth level, you will have by then abandoned even the smallest, most subtle kind of concepts. Then when you reach the 10th level, and then transform without following that. So therefore, that is still quite a far away, but as ordinary sentient beings right now, we need to make an effort because we need to start. Soon we'll never get to any of those levels. So we need to start as soon as possible with meditation on emptiness. So as I said, the understanding of emptiness does not just easily arise, but it arises through your own effort. So you need to accumulate lots and lots of merit, lots and lots of good merit, and you need to please the teacher, the Dharma Sangha, and through their blessings, then the understanding of emptiness arises in one's mind. So therefore, it's difficult for the understanding of emptiness to arise in the minds of people or beings who do not accumulate merit. You need to work hard. You might wonder that as a bodhisattva, can you just can't you just have compassion for sentient beings? Having wisdom, understanding emptiness, is that really necessary? You might wonder. But the answer is that if you just have compassion but no wisdom, then it's not possible to be from suffering. You'll be stuck in samsara, but because you have compassion and good altruistic thoughts and so on, while you are in samsara, you'll take very good rebirths. But other than that, you cannot escape from samsara. You just have compassion, but no wisdom. But if you have wisdom but no compassion, that is also a problem. If you have wisdom but no compassion, then you can certainly be free from suffering because you have the wisdom to transcend samsara. You can be free from suffering, but because you do not have the compassion for such beings, you will not attain full enlightenment. Attain the state of an arahat, so on, but not full enlightenment. So therefore, just like a bird needs two wings to fly up high into the sky, likewise, a practitioner or a bodhisattva needs the two wings of wisdom, passion, to fly high up to enlightenment. And so it's also one, the final example is like the bow and the arrow. For an archer, they need a bow and an arrow to shoot their shot. So likewise, for the bodhisattva, they need the bow, they need the compassion, which is like the bow. They need the wisdom, which is like the arrow to shoot their shot. Right? The target of the archer, just like that, practitioners, bodhisattvas, the target is light. And so with this, I conclude the teaching. Now I'll give the Vajrakilaya Kago blessing. Kago basically is a command. So I will be commanding the Dharma protectors to protect all of you who listen to this Kago. It's called the Vajrakilaya Kago blessing because the lineage of the deity known as Vajrakilaya. And this lineage contains unbroken blessings. And this is because in the 8th century, Guru Sambhava gave the Vajrakilaya teachings to my ancestors, Rakshita, and Doji Rinpoche. And the teachings have been passed down from family generation to generation since the 8th century up until the 21st century. So the blessings remain unbroken. And you can say that the Kun family lineage, the Vajrakilaya Dharma lineage, have existed for the same amount of time. Musumbane, Sumba, Hong, Bell, Megirana, Girana, Hong, Bell, Megirana, Bay, Girana, Bay, Hong. Umana, Ho, Bagan, Diara, the Hong, Bell, Musumbane, Sumba, Hong, Bell, Megirana, Girana, Hong. Megirana, Bay, Girana, Bay, Hong, Bell, Mana, Ho, Bagan, Diara, the Hong, Bell, Musumbane, Sumba, Hong, Bell, Megirana, Girana, Hong. Megirana, Bay, Hong, Bell, Mana, Ho, Bagan, Diara, the Hong, Bell. Beza gili gila saw begin beza beza the hana na beza ko the hungala gaza gaza beza ko the pita hana na beza ko the nila da beza ko the yame da ga baza baza beza ko da ra sala beza ko the hai ki wa hulu hulu beza ko da para da beza ko da me da ko da le utsu da na beza ko da telo ke beza beza ko da ma pala sabada beza ya ke ne hunza beza bera we beza me na ma beza ma ra ni Oh, jo, Maramaya, Mutala, Salaya, Sotalaya, Yina, Sora, Soratum, Tumri, Sora, Sheni, the Uru, Shishi, Gunyanya, the Mamashin, Maratana, Barmadane, the Yantapa, Zobisan, Chuku, Kundu Sample, to Doji, Samba, Chuku, Damajun, Doji, Shirayan, Sujingabu, Tudoshira, Gay, Gedon, Palpo, Shagala, Koroshira. Gojo Gabu Kaya Saga Bachim Mukmani Muka, Logan, which is one of the Muka, which Kaba gets the Kaya, Saga Pendita. Kaya Joe Gumbuchiga for Bakoba in the Polo Muka, the Watch of the David, the Picard of Mosan again, Bunny to get the Kaya, Lama Santosan get. Her lodging work at the Kaya Teji, Gabu, that she created, and I get the Kaya Gagawash, like as the solid Dowa Jang, or son of Kaya, or Tiki Gabu. What is the Kaya Janson or Buka, and Lodge Tawala, the Kaya, and Amish, Son of Kaya Janson, or what the Kaya, what is Kaya Janson. When the sergeant wall to Kaya Beijing, you want any book, Kaya Jibima, don't want to Kaya Jang, like as the Kaya Teji, off with some minable. Kang or Tajin energy, Kang Ajang or to don't want to Kang Ajang or Kunga Taji, Lama Tapa. The Doji, Majana, Matamji, Manga, or Teji, but some one, Gavataj, as the power, some other year, much better, Lama.
근데 도지 장점도 다지 지가 도지 장 오고서는 다시 답에게 봐서 뭐 받을 줄 따와도 기분 좀 받아나 받아 상하 지나기 이담 시도 남자들서 남자께서 나서 가는 게 도지 마다리 받을 줄 다고 기업은 되나라 농지 배경기도 뭐 주민이의 상에 두줄 속이네 탐지다 땡땡 사다 기관에 더 사다게 거 받을 수 있는 거 근데 대신에 마음 태우는 주문으로서 내가 탐지다 셰어 로게 다게 샤게로서 바뀌는 게 되시 이 되다 생긴에 삼족에 더 사이로서 주문을 받았다 바로 이 마저다 주문으로서 donagagi pajim de choda de nyawal shiba de so de ke so na pa de jo pa da mo ma ta yen da chamni chan ge sam los be ye de tham de dawa ya ge mo da kone ko de peshi ke de sam de na de ish de be chinde de do so ya wa se de be chna da so ke de shne de ye to da da ge so de so ge ne ba ma je on be za ra cha je hon be sa on be za ra cha je hon be za ra cha je hon be so ha ma je je na wa ta ye ju ge se ke wa sa ba me ge to la chne de 다중관계 조회 파지세 빼마 주는 이들 조회가 탄동격을 쏟아놓으며 소화도 되게 파지소 징으로 시키는 것도 마오시지 배적으로 때마스 대비인게나 아이시데 자 침체에 바라본 주진이 별로다나 싫어다 세대시에 빠져 하나바 대군은 기초브라테도 소 떠납니다 이제 꾸즈미기 사진데 찾아 주기 미 길라 체베다시 나디 턴제세 예 토네 예베잖아 언제네 예가나 지발로 주바 예세베 토네 조와 조와쇼 자바바우 제다케마 아이괴도 삼보 대양 대신대 대다기기 제수다 징계원디다 함지라도 유소시베가와 함지 잉어와 가나 조도 아바데 나기게웨 사와데 야삼보 제제 라도 와기 자초경웨 교바초 아이케조 야스 요소 카웨 리츠데 데마사세 아사갸바이 데바 기규르지 제베기 대와도지 대바데 사게 주세 예규르지 주대도 예겐제